Coming up on Around San Diego, Mayor Todd Gloria presents his City of San Diego draft budget for fiscal year 2027. We take a look at some of the proposed cuts. Plus, another Democratic candidate steps out of the race for California's governor, and a new poll reveals who's now in the lead. Plus, California's Attorney General and local tribe are suing the city of Poway, claiming human remains were found at a construction site. We do have reaction from the San Pasqual tribe. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as we take you around San Diego. I'm News 8's Jenny Day, and I'll get you caught up on all of our top stories of the week, and then we'll also look ahead at what's to come around San Diego. We do begin with the battle over the city of San Diego's budget. Mayor Todd Gloria went before the city council and the public this week, just days after proposing cuts to address a budget deficit of $118 million. Nearly 200 people showed up to speak. Many of them voiced opposition to proposed cuts to arts, library hours, and rec centers.
The mayor's proposed plan slashes libraries, parks, arts, housing, and just about every social service while attempting to pit us against one another for crumbs.
Yeah, under the current proposal, police and fire departments would not see major cuts to their funding, but Mayor Gloria says cuts elsewhere do need to happen now to avoid even bigger ones down the road.
Doing an all cuts budget is what we've had to introduce per the request, and frankly the request of the public. We have received over 10,000 responses to our online citizen survey. People were very clear. They want the city to live within its means. They want us to use our existing taxes and fees to support our services.
Council members say they are not happy about the programs being put on the chopping block, but they say they have to be realistic and that these difficult decisions have to be made. And a new independent report is raising alarms about deaths inside of San Diego County jails. The report was ordered by the Citizens Law Enforcement Review Board. It found nearly 180 people died over a 13-year period. More than half of those deaths were not from natural causes, with overdose deaths climbing. The vast majority happened at the San Diego Central Jail and then the Vista Detention Facility. In a statement, the sheriff's office says, quote, "We recognize that any preventable in-custody death is unacceptable. Our all-out efforts at enhancing medical and mental treatment for those in our custody continues to show dramatic reductions in negative outcomes," end quote. Officials say that does include enhanced drug detection and adding medical doctors to screenings for people entering custody. Well, jury screening is underway in the high-profile murder trial of Larry Millete a few weeks now before opening statements are set to begin. Dozens of potential jurors reported to the South Bay Courthouse this week for a trial that could last up to 3 months. The goal is to find jurors who haven't already formed opinions in a case that has drawn widespread attention. Attorneys will review juror questionnaires before in-person screening begins. Millete is charged with killing his wife Maya in 2021. Her body still has never been found.
Experience and competence was not polling as high as we thought when I first started this race.
Yeah, former state controller Betty Yee is dropping out of California's governor race. Yee says recent polling prompted her decision to end her campaign, not pressure from the Democratic Party to thin the number of candidates in the race. Her exit comes on the heels of fellow Democrat Eric Swalwell's departure following sexual assault allegations. So this still does leave the race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom wide open. There is no clear frontrunner, but at the moment, 2 Republican candidates are topping the polls. The current top 5 candidates are Steve Hilton at 16%, Chad Bianco at 14%, then Democrats Javier Becerra and Tom Steyer each with 13%, and then Democrat Katie Porter at 10%. The remaining Democratic candidates make up about 9%, while about 20% of voters remain undecided. Only the top 2 finishers in the June primary will move on regardless of party. A California law requiring masked ICE agents to wear visible ID has been blocked. The Ninth Circuit blocked California's No Vigilantes Act, upholding precedent that states have no power to prosecute federal agents carrying out their duties. Passed after last year's immigration raids, the law would have penalized agents not identifying themselves. But the Trump administration sued, arguing that the law exposed agents to death threats and doxing. Attorney General Rob Bonta is now considering appeals up to the Supreme Court. And California's Attorney General and local tribe are suing the city of Poway and a developer, claiming human remains were found at a construction site. News 8's Kelly Hessedal has reaction from the San Pasqual tribe.
Let's all kind of slow it down and talk about what needs to be done. And then that word comes out, mitigate. But before you can ever go into that aspect, there need to be some basic guidelines discussed.
He says by law, the city was supposed to consult with them before the project was ever even approved. But the issues really came to light last year when he says ancient artifacts were found out here. Then in March, he says remains were found on 2 separate occasions. He says there's evidence so far of at least 3 tribal ancestors, an infant, an adolescent, and an adult.
That was Kelly Hessedal reporting. Meantime, right now, attendance at Balboa Park museums continues to drop, and new data points to paid parking as a major factor. The Balboa Park Cultural Partnership says visitation is down an average of 34% since parking fees took effect in January, with some museums seeing drops as high as 60%. Leaders warn that if the trend continues, it could mean lost revenue, job cuts, and fewer events. The city has already made some adjustments, including free parking in select lots for residents, but Balboa Park officials say still more needs to be done. Still ahead, SDG&E is rolling out a change that could lower your power bill if you shift when you're using electricity. We'll tell you what you need to know. And San Diego County leaders are advancing major changes to how the county is run. We break down the charter reforms that are moving forward. Thank you for staying with us as we continue to take you around San Diego. San Diego County leaders are advancing major changes to how the county is run, but voters will get the final say. After hours of debate, the Board of Supervisors voted 3-2 to advance a package of charter reforms. The biggest change would extend supervisor term limits from 8 to 12 years and add term limits for the sheriff and district attorney for the first time ever. The plan also includes an ethics commission, budget analyst, and program auditor. The board votes again May 19th. If it passes, it goes to voters in November. And the city of San Diego is officially renaming the holiday and a street that once honored Cesar Chavez. The council approved an amendment to the municipal code after last month's sexual abuse allegations against the late labor leader. The March 31st holiday will now be called Farm Workers Day, and the Cesar Chavez Parkway there in Barrio Logan now becomes Chicano Park Boulevard. We are also learning that 4 people charged with barricading themselves inside of Mayor Todd Gloria's office in January were granted misdemeanor diversion by a judge this week. That means if they abide by terms set by the judge, they could have their cases dismissed. The protesters say they were just trying to meet with the mayor about city policy regarding interactions with federal immigration officers when they were arrested because they would not leave. 2 others, though, are still facing trespassing charges. And hey, Stone Brewing, San Diego's largest craft brewer, is being sold again, this time to Firestone Walker Brewing Company and Duvel Mortgat USA. That means most beer production will actually move out of San Diego County. The deal is expected to close this summer, and at that time, Stone's beers, local tap rooms, and the Liberty Station Beer Garden will operate then under Firestone Walker. The Escondido Brewing Facility and Bistro are not included in that deal. Hotter, drier conditions are changing the way that wildfires burn and when. A new study says fires are now burning hotter later into the night and regaining intensity again before sunrise. Less rain this season means drier vegetation and more fuel for fires. But new CAL FIRE investments are working to give firefighters the resources they need to keep Californians safe.
Able to attack the fire at night when it's slower in progress, a little bit lower in intensity, is going to give us the upper hand when the winds and the sun and the temperature come back in the next morning.
State-mandated Zone 0 regulations require defensible space within 5 feet of structures. That is already in effect for new buildings. In San Diego, we can do it at home too. All right, SDG&E is rolling out a change that could lower your power bill if you shift when you're using electricity. Starting soon, May 1st, homes and businesses on time of use plans can get the cheapest rates during the day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on weekdays when solar energy is at its peak. Previously, customers could only take advantage of super off-peak rates during the spring, but they'll now be available year-round. The utility says customers could save around 20% by running appliances during that window. Overnight discount hours will stay the same. Still ahead, city leaders in El Cajon are cracking down on speeding, the new program the city is considering. Keep it here. Welcome back. City leaders in El Cajon are looking to crack down on speeding. The city is considering a 1-year pilot program using automated warning systems to slow down dangerous drivers. Under this proposal, the pilot program would install 4 automated warning systems, 1 in each council district. If the cameras see drivers speeding by more than 20 miles per hour, they will then be sent a written warning. California law blocks automated systems from issuing fines, but the cameras will help capture data on speeding patterns around the city. Still, some residents who deal with speeders constantly think that there should be consequences and not just warnings.
I don't think a warning is going to be good enough. I think something needs to be done. Catch these speeders, you know, give them citation and consequences.
Let's keep each other safe. El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells also emphasized the unprecedented level of public concern about speeding conditions during his time in city government. And right now there is a push to bring an electric bike share system to San Diego. The system would essentially allow riders to pick up a bike at one station and then return it at another, with payment based on time used. You may remember there used to be something similar with those scooters here. The initiative is still in the early stages. And if you have ever ridden the State Route 56 bike path in Carmel Valley, you know the flooding can be a real problem. City leaders are proposing a nearly $4 million fix, but that fix would not eliminate all of the flooding still, and not everyone who lives in the area is on board. News 8's Vanessa Paz dives into the dilemma in this On the Move report.
It's a great trail because you can avoid all the traffic. When you're riding, you don't need to stop very often. Don't have to worry about getting hit by drivers that aren't paying attention.
It's a popular stretch of the 56 bike path in Carmel Valley, but even after light storms, this section near Carmel Country Road can flood and stay that way for days.
Have you encountered where it's flooded? So it's right under this.
We've seen where it floods.
City engineers say the issue has been reported for years and can pose safety risks for both walkers and riders.
Yeah, it could be. Could be, especially if you didn't expect it.
Right.
You know, and you're coming around a corner.
And the city's proposed fix: raise the path about 2 feet, add larger drainage culverts, and install safety railings. The goal: keep it passable, even if it's not completely dry. Because right now, this stretch can stay underwater for days, and city leaders say it floods about a third of the year. Now, with improvements, water could drain within a day after most storms. But here's the catch: the path would still flood during heavy rain since it sits in a natural floodway. And the price tag for the project, nearly $4 million.
The cost seems kind of high. Seems like the money could be better spent on other things.
Boy, that's a lot of money though. $4 million, yeah. I guess I'd have to see maybe what they're doing with the money.
The Carmel Valley Community Planning Board has voted to delay the project, calling for more input from neighbors because some question whether it's worth it for a fix that doesn't fully solve the problem, while others worry about construction impacts and losing access to the trail.
The construction projects always last years, it seems like. So I could see where the trail's disrupted for a year or something while they're doing this, which was not great either, right?
Some riders we spoke with had a different suggestion with a different approach.
Get the community involved. I bet you if somebody who owned a construction shop or paving, right? They did that and just ask for, if you do this as free advertisement for your businesses, that you're helping a community. Whatever happened to community helping out? Take care.
Vanessa, thank you. Well, hey, a marine heat wave is driving some species away from San Diego's ocean waters and attracting others. You got to hear this. News 8's Abby Black shares why experts are predicting an increase in shark activity off the coast of Southern California.
San Diego County's coastline is home to some remarkable sea life, but get this, it is known as one of the largest hotspots for juvenile white sharks.
Shark researchers are calling it a, quote, sharky summer. A marine heat wave is pushing popping season earlier than usual, meaning more juvenile white sharks are moving up from Baja into these waters.
So right now, we are suspecting it's going to be a sharky summer because the conditions are starting to match that of what we saw in 2015.
But here's why this research matters. Scripps Institute of Oceanography is working with researchers at Shark Lab at CSU Long Beach. They say that data is directly shared with ocean lifeguards, helping them make smarter decisions about beach closures.
Well, if you have an 8-foot white shark that's hanging out off your beach and it's there every day and nobody's seeing it, why close the beach? And it's helping them reduce unnecessary beach closures.
This state funding is critical, which is running out. They say that this research matters.
People have a lot of questions about sharks. Where are they? What are they doing? Why are they there? The only way that we can answer that is having good data.
Yeah, we got to coexist. I still get in that water. Coming up here, Project Brewing here in San Diego has worked to get a climate label certification. We'll have the story coming up in an Earth 8 report. Welcome back to you. Every business has an environmental footprint, but not every business tries to shrink it. Pure Project Brewing has been given 1% of sales back to environmental nonprofits since their start, and now they are going even further. The brewer is cutting the CO2 that they pump into our air. Meteorologist Sean Stiles taps into how they are pulling it off in this Earth 8 report.
The next time you're at your favorite brew pub, ask yourself, is it climate label certified? Well, here at Pure Project Brewing, that's exactly what they're doing, making sure they can say that. Since opening their business 10 years ago, Pure Project Brewing has always had a focus on the environment.
I think as a business, we need to admit that we're having an impact, right? Just kind of more globally, like whatever we're doing here is certainly going to have an impact on the environment.
Matt Robar and his partners decided they would run their brewery with a conscience.
From the beginning, we've been a 1% for the Planet company, donating 1% of top-line sales to environmental nonprofits.
And it's just not about donating money. Special events are focused on net zero waste, looking for ways to recycle. Cardboard boxes are 100% recycled cardboard. And if all that sounds like it costs more money, you'd be right. So why?
That nature, is such a big part of our lives, and so preserving those natural places as much as we can, and making sure that what we do here, is not going to affect our children's future for the natural world, right? We're doing the best that we can, even if it costs a little bit more money.
The next down payment on the environment is a carbon recapturing system that was installed at the beginning of the new year.
This piece of machinery is basically capturing the CO2 that is produced during the fermentation process over in the brewery, and then it's converting it and sending it to our bulk CO2 tank.
In the past, normal business practice, the CO2 would be released into the atmosphere.
Now we can recapture it, keep it in a closed loop, and use it where we need.
And all this is done under the watchful eye of Murphy, the brewery basset hound.
It ticks a couple boxes for us. It does that, so hopefully the long-term savings, but also from the environmental side, we're no longer releasing all that CO2 and then having to buy it again from somebody else.
It's called leading by example.
We're here to make amazing beer and bring people together. We call it our beer as a force for good ethos, right? We use beer as a force for good in the world.
I don't know if you're like me, but when you see all the things that are happening here at Pure Project Brewing and think, God, they're really going that extra step to get that climate certification label, it really makes me feel good about businesses here in Southern California and San Diego. So next time you go out for a drink or a beer, ask yourself, are they doing what they can? Sean Stiles, Earth 8.
Always good stuff, Sean. Thank you. Well, the San Diego Zoo Safari Park is welcoming a tiny new addition that is already making a big impression. It is the newborn poodoo fawn, one of the world's tiniest deer species. Native to South America, poodoos are famously petite, growing up to 17 inches tall as adults, which is just about knee-high for humans. The newborn is already stepping confidently into the world, spending her days exploring her habitat alongside her attentive mom there, Posey. They're so sweet. I still need to get out and see the elephant exhibit there at the safari park. All right, that'll do it for us. Thank you for your time, as always, for staying informed. For News 8, I'm Jenny Day. Take such good care. Go Padres.